Hi, this is Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. This is another video talking about the changes in equipment brought in patch 1.10, so this equipment 2.0. Previous video was about the lower tier tanks between tiers 2 and 5, which show the progression from having one equipment slot up to 3, but no priority slot. And in this particular review, we're going to be looking at how it works from tiers 6 to 10, and we're going to use a tier 8 tank, mostly because this particular one I've only just got and it's got no equipment, so we can see what the effect is on the base without removing anything. In this particular case, this is a medium tank, and you can see that the first equipment slot has got an icon underneath it, and as it's highlighted you can see it says mobility, and that's going to be the same for every medium tank that attracts, or every tank in the tiers that attract the priority slot will be the same for each tank type. So mobility for medium tanks, firepower for heavy tanks, and the related things like that. So let's go and have a closer look. Again, this is a stock tank. It's the Swedish Lansen C. So as we open that up, again, you'll see the slots at the bottom, and you can see the highlighted one that we're on, and this is the one with the priority slot. It's always going to be slot 1, which is the leftmost one, and you can see the other two slots have got no similar icon, and they don't attract any bonus to that slot. Here in the top panel, you can see all of the equipment choices that you've got for that slot. However, some attract the bonus and some don't. And the ones that do attract the bonus, you'll see two things. One is that the bonus amount is sort of a highlighted color there, a brighter green, as if a light is on. And the ones that don't attract a bonus are the duller green, or as if the light has been switched off behind it. So it means that only those ones with that brighter green get that bonus in that particular slot. The other way to look at it is each piece of equipment's got a series of icons in the top left corner, and only the ones that match the mobility symbol, which itself will be highlighted, attract the bonus. So it tells us two things. One is we could put any equipment in that slot, and in fact you may have tanks that have equipment in that slot already, but unless it matches the mobility icon, then you're not going to get a bonus from it. If this situation you're in is like this, where we've got a new tank and has no equipment on it, we can use these filters here at the top and click on that, and it will just show us the choices that do match mobility. So let's have a look at that. Now, one other thing to look at here is on the right hand side, the same things that you have in the garage view of the particular tank, all the characteristics of it. Let's just minimize all of those for the moment. But as we select each piece of equipment, you'll see the impact on it, the ratings of those particular characteristics, and they're useful and some of them not quite useful depending on what we look at. So let's have a look at the first choice, improved ventilation, plus 6% to all crew skills, and normally if it's not in a priority slot, you get plus 5%, so you're getting an extra 1% increase in crew skills because of using this in a priority slot. However, you can use ventilation in any slot, of course, in which case it'll drop back to the 5%. So the choice you've got, though, is to say, all right, well, what am I going to put in that slot that will give me the maximum benefit? So probably having ventilation is not going to be it, but let's select it and see what the impact is. So we have a look here at firepower. It's actually increased firepower. And why has it done that? Because it's improved the gunner's skills and the loader's skills. So it's improved the rate of fire, and it's improved the gun traverse speed, improved the aiming time, the dispersion, and there's an overall impact or benefit on the average damage per minute, or DPM. So it's actually not bad, but it's not really affecting the mobility in the way that you thought that slot was going to do. But it does tell you that that's because it's affecting all crew skills, not just the ones that affect mobility. What effect has that had on mobility? Pretty minor one. It's added some weight to it. All equipment's got weight, so that's going to be given. And the only characteristics that's changed is traverse speed. That is the rate that the hull moves in degrees per second. So that's okay, but it's not really much in the way of mobility. And if one of the things you thought you wanted to get out of your medium tank was mobility, then it's not really going to give you much benefit there. The last thing it's got an impact on is spotting. Our base view range was 380, so it's added 10 meters to that, and you can see there that 10 meters was just due to the improved ventilation. So again, on this tank, the crew is 100%, but they've got no additional skills or perks. So all the effects here that you're seeing are from the equipment. So improved ventilation, while it's useful, it may not be the best choice for this slot. So let's have a look at the two others that you probably consider. Improved rotation mechanism, or IRM. This is interesting. It's got effect on turret traverse, vehicle traverse speed, and also on dispersion during vehicle movement and turret movement, which is the equivalent, similar to vertical stabilizers. And so this is a good choice if you normally mount vertical stabilizers, or if it's a tank that otherwise doesn't support vertical stabilizers, but it would be useful to suit your playstyle, you might choose this one. So let's have a look at the impact that that one has instead. So minor impact on firepower. This again will be just the traverse speed now, so it's gone back to the standard rate of fire, etc. But here you can see added in the firepower list, but not affecting the calculation of the number. Outside of it is the dispersion improvement. So that's the same effect that you would have vertical stabilizer, although not quite the same percentage. Vertical stabilizer is a 20% increase, or a decrease in dispersion during movement. But nonetheless, it's got that impact, and it's got the other impacts, and one that affects mobility again, which is the hull traverse speed. So you've both got gun moving faster around, and you've got the hull moving faster around. So that has definitely got benefits to mobility, but it's also giving you some useful impact on firepower. So we can say, well, that's a good thing to consider. What's this other one? Turbocharger. We select that. This is focused completely on mobility. So 10% increase in engine power, which will increase your acceleration, a 5 km/h increase to top speed, and a 3 km/h increase to your top speed in reverse. So good for backing out of situations. So you can see here the impact on mobility is all those things we just talked about. What was already a fairly mobile tank with high 20s for specific power, and therefore acceleration's been increased even more. So if you're the sort of player who likes to get to early spots and take advantage of that by doing early damage and getting out quickly, that might be a better choice for you than improved rotation mechanism. But let's choose IRM for the moment and leave it there. The last choice, again, depending a bit on your playstyle, reduces or increases the speed of vehicle traverse, but the key value of this one is an improvement to maintaining speed across any terrain type. So again, if you're cross-country driving and you want to get the highest speed possible, and that is your motivation, then you would choose this one. But I would think it's not giving other benefits, so it may not be a good all-round choice. But again, purely dependent on your playstyle. Let's look at putting things in the other slots. So we'll click on the slot, and you can see we've still got the filter on, so it's giving us only the choices around mobility, but we can say, right, don't care about that so much now. We want to get something else out of this. If we wanted to increase firepower, we could select the firepower one, and you can see improved rotation mechanism has an impact on firepower, as we saw earlier anyway, so that's good. We've got it selected, that's still useful. But we might want to say, well, actually I want the gun rammer. I get a better rate of fire increase than having ventilation, even though I lose benefits in other places. But a gun rammer I really want because I'm a brawler and I want to get as high DPM as possible because I get in the face of other players and I need to use my gun and get as many shots out as possible. So again, you can look at these different choices. We talked about vertical stabilizer, and let's just have a look at putting that in instead of gun rammer and seeing what the impact is. You can see that the additional 20% reduction in dispersion that the VSTAB gives you is added to the 12.5% reduction from your IRM that you've got in place. So your total reduction in dispersion is minus 32%. So this would be a good choice for a player who depends on shooting on the move or does the majority of their shots on the move and doesn't, stay in one place during the game. That you can see that that combination stacks up together. But let's switch back to rammer, more traditional sort of choice, and then go to the last slot, and we can say, all right, we don't care about the remainders of those ones. Now we want to focus on view range. That's important to us. So we look at scouting choices, and we've got probably two that you would look at from a medium tank perspective. Coated optics, which is a pretty standard choice for high tier vehicles, gives a 10% increase in view range. And let's just close these up. So you can see our spotting characteristic numbers gone up substantially. We've gone from 380 to 418. There's a 10% increase. But we've got a new choice here called Commander's Vision System. And if we choose it, it's not giving us any direct benefit on spotting. But what it's really doing is it's changing the concealability of the enemy tanks. So it's as if you're getting much higher view range, but only to the point of burning through foliage. So it's saying anything that's directly behind a bush or in a bush, you're reducing its camo by 15%, which may make it completely visible to you, depending on how close you are. And if they're behind the bush to the point where they thought they were safe, even to the point of firing, this might make them, unconcealed to you when they fire, and therefore you would spot them. The other benefit is again, it's an ongoing benefit. It lets you reduce their concealment factor by 10% when they're moving. So any enemy vehicles on the move through the map, if they're in your view range, then their effectively camo has been reduced by 10%, which is pretty substantial. So again, depends on your playstyle, which one you're going to get the benefit from most. I don't think there's a lot of data out yet about how effective the CVS is. People, particularly light tank players, are reporting spotting tanks much easier than they did before, which would all be down to this concealment factor reduction. But other players are reporting it's very situational. So we'll wait for the jury to come in on that one. But for the moment, we'll keep coated optics in. So again, you can now see the combination of all three of those factors there. And you can see the total impact on our characteristics of the tank. You're not really seeing everything in terms of soft stats, but that's a pretty good indicator, of the choices you've made. And you can move things around between choices slots as well. So if I want to, for some reason, it doesn't really make any impact on the performance, but if I wanted to spot something out of a priority slot and back into another one, again, that's easy to do. And that doesn't take any demounting, by the way. If you've got existing equipment in there and you want to move stuff out of a priority slot, you can do that. And it won't have to be demounted as long as you've got a slot free to push the stuff to. Anyway, I hope that's made sense to you and demystifies a bit out of the system. This is, again, based on medium tank, so the type of priority slot is specific to medium tanks, but you can see all of the types of equipment available to you. You can still set up the tank the way that you want with the types of equipment that you're used to, and you can also take advantage of some of the newer equipment types that they've produced. So any questions you've got, feel free to leave comments below, or you can contact me on the forums or in Discord, and I'm happy to answer questions as best as I can. So thanks very much for watching, and come back to the channel at some time.